Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to R Squared Technology. I'm your host Ryan, and let's get ready to SolidWorks. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you've had a smooth work week. We're pretty much done. Oh, at least I am. Enjoy this Halloween weekend. As always, we are working from the Beginner's Guide to SolidWorks 2022 Level 1. Link in the description below where you can pick up a copy to follow along. And today's tutorial, we will be starting on page 305 with section 14.1, where we're going to learn about the wrap feature. So with that, let's get started. Alright, to start, you're going to want to save your part ahead of time as the cylindrical cam. You can save it at the end of this tutorial if you want, but as always, I'm recommending saving at the beginning. And another thing we're going to want to do is come up here to the options, which is the little gear. We're going to go to the document property tab, go to units, and make sure that our length is set to 3 decimal places, and of course that we are in inch-pounds second if you aren't already. Click OK. Wait a moment for this to disappear. And now from here, we're going to start with section 14.1 on page 305. We're simply going to draw a cylinder. So we will choose the front plane for this one. Control 8 to bring it normal to. Come up here and choose a circle. We'll make the center point of the circle coincident to the origin as always. No offsets here. Click and drag out, select OK, and then we are going to give it a diameter of 1.5 inches. And then from here, one other thing we're going to do is something, it's a simple little item to utilize, which is going to be a point. Depending on certain geometries, you may need a point to be able to create a reference in other situations. And you're going to see in a moment what this is going to come in handy for. So the point will be up here at the top quadrant. Click, select OK. Now something to keep in mind is I'm still in the point command, so we can click on it again to close out, or you could hit escape a couple of times. Now from here we're going to go to the Features tab, and then we're going to choose the Extruded Boss Base. And in this case, let's make sure we will do a boss extrude of 3 inches with the end condition being blind. So we'll leave it blind and we'll do 3 inches, enter, switch the direction the other way, click OK. Hit Control S, spacebar to bring it isometric, and we'll now move on to section 14.2 at the top of page 306. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do here is move on to section 14.2 at the top of page 306, where we're going to create an auxiliary plane. And now we're going to implement that point from the previous sketch. So the first thing we can do here is in our feature tree on the left, choose the drop down arrow from the boss extrude feature, select sketch 1, make sure that it is visible. And then from here, so I'm going to rotate the part just a little bit and zoom in so you can see there's that point we made. It's a little difficult to see, but in a moment it'll be a little bit better. So from here we can then, in the feature tree, select the top plane, because we want this auxiliary plane to be parallel to that and coincident to this point. So we'll have the top plane selected first. Again, there's 2 ways you could do this. You could start into the auxiliary reference geometry plane first, then select all of your coordinates or points and planes, but we'll work in this method. So select the top plane, choose the drop down in the Features tab, plane, so now it's going to be the top plane, and it's just set with an offset distance right now, but then we're going to select that point there. And now this plane is fully defined. So from here we can select OK, and then we'll hit Control S, hit the spacebar, keep it isometric for the moment, And we'll now move on to section 14.3 at the middle of page 306. Alright, section 14.3 at the middle of page 306, we're going to create the sketch profile for the wrap feature. So, let's grab this auxiliary plane 1 from either the feature tree or the graphics view, Control 8 to bring it normal to, come up to the sketch tab, and we'll start out by creating a center line, which will be midpoint the silhouette edge of the cylinder at the top and the bottom. Right click, select, and then from here we're going to use the mirror feature in a new way. Come up here to Tools, choose Sketch Tools, and choose Dynamic Mirror, and then we'll select the center line. Now notice down here at the bottom there's a little equal sign to indicate the dynamic mirror is active. Then from here we'll start our sketch. I'll choose a line and we'll make sure that one endpoint is coincident to the center line. Do a horizontal relation, drag out. And from here, in previous videos, you can drag down to create an arc as such. Then we'll drag up to do a vertical line, and then we'll drag back in and create another arc like such, and then drag out to create another horizontal line, click and right click and select. Now notice as I sketched on one side, it copied it over to the other side automatically. So that's the instant difference of dynamic mirroring versus the standard mirroring procedure, which is you draw your sketch, select all the sketch entities, then choose the center line to mirror it about, and then it mirrors it. So they'll have their advantages. Certain times you won't want to mirror every single sketch entity, so then you would want to use the regular mirror command in that case. But in this case, the dynamic mirror works out very well. So from here we can go over to page 307, where we're going to add the dimensions. So another thing we can also do real quickly too is press and hold the control key, select this arc, and do equal. And then from here we can choose the smart dimension, and then we're going to make this a 0.5 radius. And then we're going to make this point here and here 2 inches. And now one thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to drag this back up here, and then we're going to choose, and one more thing, we'll also grab these lines, bring it back out, and drag it up just a little bit, just make some minor adjustments. And then we can choose our smart dimension, and then this bottom line here to this point here is going to be 1.75. And then from this point here to the silhouette edge of the cylinder will be 0.75. Now we're almost fully defined, so we're going to grab this point here and this point here. And this one's going to be a little bit unique. As I've mentioned before with dimensioning, you can do equations. And in this case, we're going to do 1.5 times lowercase pi, 3.14, so on and so forth. Hit enter. And that's going to allow us to be able to wrap completely around the circumference of the circle. So from here, we can go to the top of page 308, section 14.4. Alright, moving on to the top of page 308, section 14.4, we're going to complete this profile and close it out simply with 2 lines and the offset command. So what's nice about the offset entities, which is up here under the sketch tab, we're going to select that, and we're going to set the offset to 0.25. We're going to make sure to add dimensions, select chain is selected, and bidirectional, which will give us an overall width of 1/2 inch. The other thing we're going to do down here is under construction geometry, choose base geometry, which means all of this here will become a center line for reference, and then the 2 offsets will then be regular lines, which will become part of our wrap feature profile. So with everything selected, we can simply select one end, and you can see how it's made a chain here. And we'll make sure that bidirectional selected, so that gives us our thickness here. Then we can click OK. And the final thing that we need to do is just add a line from this point and this point here. And again, with the mirror command still active, it's going to add it to the other side, so we can select OK. And that brings us to page 309, section 14.5. Alright, before we move into section 14.5 at the bottom of page 309, we will exit out of the sketch, and then we will come here to the feature tree and make sure that sketch 2 is selected. And now we can go to the features tab and start the wrap feature. And from here we can go to page 309 to 310, where we're going to change some properties over here. And there's 3 different wrap types. There's emboss, deboss, and then there's going to be scribe. And we want to choose deboss in this case. I do recommend you read up in the book about the differences. Emboss is going to extrude, deboss is going to cut into, and then spline, scribe is a slightly different feature. Then our wrap method is going to be analytic, or the other option is spline surface, but we're going to keep it on analytic. And our depth is going to be 0.1. And our surface we're going to select, I'm going to press and hold to rotate the cylinder. Select the cylinder, and then we can click OK. And then I'll hit the space bar and bring it isometric, Control S. And then we'll now move on to section 14.6 at the top of page 311. Alright, we're in the home stretch with section 14.6 at the top of page 311. The final feature we're going to add here is a fillet. So to make it simple in this particular case, we can actually select the wrap feature from the feature tree and simply select fillet under the features tab. And then from here, we can do a radius of 0.02. Select OK. And then, once it's done thinking here, we will add a material to it. Come up here to the materials, right click, and then we're going to go into edit material, and they choose AISI 1020 steel, which is this one right here. We'll hit apply and close out, and then we will hit Control S to save it. So that is one method for a wrap feature. In the next video, we're going to go over another method for uneven surfaces where we're actually going to apply it to the bottle that we've already made. So we'll do a quick spin here just to kind of show that this cam groove we created in the cylinder, it wraps all the way around it like such. And then I'll do spacebar to bring it back isometric. And that is it. Hope you learned something from this. Stay tuned next Friday, where again we will do a different type of wrap feature against that previous bottle we made. Until then, happy Friday and take care.